Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. All praise is due to Allah, and may His peace and blessings be upon His last messenger Muhammad, and upon all those who follow the path of righteousness until the last day. We welcome you once again, dear viewers, to another episode on the Hereafter. Another in a series of Islamic programs presented to you by Sharjah Satellite Television from Sharjah in the United Arab Emirates. In our last episode, we were looking at some of the people who will be safe on the Day of Judgment, who will be spared, who will enjoy safety and peace and tranquility on the Day of Judgment. And we were talking about those people, a group of people, being those people who will be under the shade of the Arsh, under the shade of the throne of Allah on the Day of Judgment. We mentioned that the Day of Judgment is 50,000 years long, and the sun is right above the heads of the people. It's a very hot day, it's a very difficult day, and the earth is flat. The earth has been made flat, and there are no hills or valleys, there are no mountains, trees, there is no shade on the Day of Judgment, except for the shade of Allah, under the Arsh, under the throne of Allah. And we mentioned that this is an exclusive group. Not anyone can just go run and seek shelter, seek shade under the Arsh of Allah. Allah will admit the people into the shade, under the Arsh of Allah, according to their qualities. And we mentioned, we were starting to look at one of the hadith of the Prophet Muhammad, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, a hadith found in Bukhari, in which he mentioned 7 people. There are 7 who will be under who will be in the shade of the Arsh, under the Arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on the day when there is no shade but the shade of Allah. And we mentioned first a just ruler. And we mentioned the second person being a youth who grew up worshipping Allah. And we started to look at the third person mentioned in the hadith, which is a man whose heart is attached to the houses of Allah. His heart is attached to al-masajid, to the houses of Allah, to the masjid. And this is a person whom is always looking to pray Jamaat in the mosque. Always looking to go to the masjid to pray Jamaat in congregation. His heart is attached to the masjid. When they're traveling from one place to another, they're always looking for the closest masjid. When the person is at their home, when they're at home and it's time for salat, they feel the urge to go to the masjid. They love the masjid. They feel this urge to go to the masjid because their heart it's attached. It's truly attached to the masjid. And so they have this urge and this love for the masjid. They don't feel that someone is forcing them to go to the masjid. They don't feel that this is an obligation. They don't feel that, they don't have this feeling like, I have to go. Or I'll just go and I'll get it off my shoulders, I'll get this burden off my shoulders, I'll go to the masjid. No, they have this sincere urge to go to the masjid. They have love for the masjid. They go with willingness because of their love for the masjid. And this love is in their hearts. And Nawawi says that the meaning of this means that they love to pray Jama'ah in the masjid. It doesn't mean that they have to stay in the masjid, because we don't want this to be misinterpreted or misunderstood. The person whose heart is attached to the masjid, and Nawawi, he is saying in his explanation of the hadith, that this is a person who loves to pray with the congregation in Jamaat in the masjid. It doesn't mean that we have to go and we just stay in the masjid all the time. This is not what is meant here. And Nawawi says that this is not the meaning. And Nawawi says that it means that the love of salat, it's the love of salat in Jamaat, in the masjid, that these people, they have this eagerness to join the congregation, to join in the Jamaat with the Muslims. This is the attachment. This is how their hearts are attached to the masjid. They have this love and this eagerness to go to the masjid, to join the congregation of Muslims, to join for the salat and to pray their salat in Jamaat with the congregation in the masjid. Umar bin al-Khattab, one time he came into the masjid and he saw some people laying in the masjid, and they were staying in the masjid, and he asked them, "What are you doing?" because it was the time for work. It wasn't the time for prayer, it was the time for work. So he saw these people laying in the masjid. He said, "What are you doing?" And they said, "We are the ones who have tawakkul. We are the ones who have tawakkul. We rely on Allah. We rely on Allah. We have this perfect, this tawakkul." Umar bin al-Khattab, he took his stick and he hit them. He said, "You know that the sky does not rain gold and silver. If you stay in the masjid, don't expect gold and silver to rain, to come down from the sky. You have to go out and seek your rizq. You have to go out and seek your provision." The Prophet also, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, once he went into the masjid and he saw one of the Sahaba, one of the companions, sitting there. And so the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, he asked him, "What are you doing in the masjid? How come you're in the masjid?" If it was okay for a person to stay in the masjid continuously, the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, he wouldn't have asked him. But the Prophet entered, he saw him sitting there, and so the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, he asked him, because this was not the time of salat. He asked him, "What are you doing in the masjid?" The man said, "I have a lot of distress." The Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, then he taught him a hadith. And he told him to say, "Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from despair and distress, and I seek refuge in you from inability, and I seek refuge in you from laziness," and on to the end of the hadith. It's a lengthy hadith, but he taught him this dua, this supplication. But the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, he told him, "What are you doing in the masjid? This is the time of work. It wasn't the time of salat." This hadith that we're talking about is talking about people who love the masjid and love to pray jama'ah in the masjid. It's not that a person's heart is attached to the masjid, they have love for the masjid, doesn't mean the person just goes and sits in the masjid and sits there continuously, no. And no, he says this means this is a person who loves to pray jama'ah with the congregation, with the Muslims in the masjid. Because with some people, you'll find that they come to the masjid as if there's a burden. They come to the masjid as if there's a burden on their shoulders and they want to lay it away. They want to get rid of it, and they're looking for an excuse not to go to the masjid. They come to the masjid but with heavy shoulders, like they have some kind of burden. And they're looking for an excuse. But there are always some people, they love to go to the masjid. They don't come, they don't feel there's any kind of burden. They're not looking for any excuse not to go. They love to go to the masjid. And they would live far away. Even if they're living far away, they would still come and they would never complain. They have that love for the masjid, and regardless if they're close or they're far, they're coming to the masjid and they don't complain. They'll drive long distances and they'll come to pray the salat in Jamaat, and they'll come for Salat al-Fajr and for Salat al-Isha, the morning prayers, the evening prayers. They're coming for all of the salat. Why? Nobody has to argue with them, nobody has to convince them to come. Maybe they live very far away and they're coming on their own, because they have love in their hearts for the masjid. The masjid, their hearts are attached to the masjid. But then also you have sometimes some people who are in the vicinity of the masjid. They're very close, they're living very close to the masjid, maybe right next door to the masjid, and nevertheless they never show up and they never come, and they always try to find an excuse to get out of it. I mean, you're not saying that they're not praying, maybe they're praying in their home, but they always, even though they're so close to the masjid, they're not coming to pray the salat in Jamaat in the masjid. They're always finding an excuse or what have you to get out of it. So why? Why are these two types of people? One type, this person, the first person, that person has love for the masjid. Their heart is attached to the masjid, they're coming, regardless of whether they live near or far or what hardship is involved. Other people who are avoiding it, who are not going, this is because there's a lack of love for the masjid in the heart. There is a lack of this love. This heart is not attached to the masjid like the other type of person, and because of that the person doesn't go as frequently, or in some cases that person doesn't go at all. Maybe they just pray in their home and they're not going to the masjid. The Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, he says in a hadith about the hypocrites, that if one of them is told that there is the harvest of dates will be given out in the masjid, we're going to hand out dates for free in the masjid, then they would have come. In the hadith, he's talking about the hypocrites, those people who they didn't go to the masjid, they would stay in their homes. He said if it was announced that the harvest of dates which would be given out, that they would be handing out the dates for free, then those people would have come. They're hypocrites. They're not coming to the masjid because of any love for the masjid, or that their heart is attached, but they're coming if there's something being given out, there's something that they're going to get from it, then they come. So they're not coming out of love for the masjid, they're coming because of there's some kind of worldly benefit that they will get. We can think about it ourselves. If the time of salat comes, the time of prayer comes, and we find in ourselves some lack of motivation. It's time for prayer now, and we find in ourselves some lack of motivation to go to the masjid. Then we should ask ourselves a question. If they are going to give us $20, $50, whatever, if they're going to be handing out some amount of money, if we go to the prayer, will I go or not? When it's time for prayer, if you feel some hesitation about going to the masjid, we should ask ourselves the question, if they were handing out money, some amount of money, would I go or not? If you feel that you're going to go, that if they're handing out $20 or $10, what have you, then yes, if you feel yes, I would go if they're handing out that, then that means that you don't have an excuse. You don't have a valid excuse not to go to the masjid. You're just trying to make an excuse. That you're feeling that I can't really go because of this or because of that. So there's some hesitation there. Ask yourself, okay, this is my reason, but now would I go if they were handing out money? If the answer is yes, then whatever reason it was that you were maybe going to stay away, this is not a valid excuse. But if you ask yourself, they're handing out money, would I go? And you're still not able to go, then that means that most likely you have a valid excuse for not going. Maybe you're sick, and you say, look, even if they could be handing out $100. I can't make it, I can't go to the masjid. A person, he may be in bed, he's got fever, whatever, he can't get out of bed. Then, this person has a valid excuse that he can't make it to the masjid for salat. And we could pretty much assume that if every masjid was going to hand out $20 for every salat, that anyone who comes for salat, we'll give you $20. You come for Fajr, we'll give you $20. You come for Dhuhr, we'll give you $20. Asr, Maghrib, Isha, we'll give you $20. 5 times salat, that's $100 a day. If the masjid, if all of the masjid, they announce we're going to be giving the people $20 every time they come for salat, the masjid would be packed in full. This is without doubt. Nobody can doubt this. If they announce that they'll be handing out money at the salat for anyone who comes to pray salat in the masjid, the masajid, they would be full, they would be packed, there'll be people standing outside waiting to get in. Allah is not promising us $20. Allah is not promising us the harvest of dates. Allah is not promising us $100, $1,000, $1 million. Allah is promising us the shade under His arsh, shade under the throne of Allah on the day which is 50,000 years long. This is the reward for the person whose heart is attached to the masjid. So which is better? $20, $100, or shade on the Day of Judgment? This is the way we have to look at these things, and we have to see the reality of these things. We have to look at ourselves. Is my heart, am I attached to the masjid? Am I going to the masjid for salat, for jamaat? Or, I go sometimes, and sometimes maybe there's, at the least little excuse, I stay back and I pray at home, or what have you. And if they were handing out money, if they were giving out something every salat, would I be going to the masjid every time? If the answer is yes, then we don't have a valid excuse. If we would go to get some kind of worldly benefit, then we should go to get the real benefit, which is the benefit of akhirah. Because Allah is not promising $20 or dates or any kind of worldly benefit. Allah is promising us shade on the Day of Judgment, which is 50,000 years long. This is the reward for that person whose heart is attached to the masjid. So we have to make an effort to become attached, that our hearts become attached to the masjid, that we have this genuine love and this urge and this desire to go and pray every salah in jama'ah in the masjid, that we are attached to the masjid. Not for any worldly benefit, so that by the grace of Allah, we can be among those people on the Day of Judgment who will be in the shade under the arsh of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. On the day which is 50,000 years long, on the day in which there is no shade except for the shade of Allah. The fourth type of person who is mentioned in the hadith, who will be in the shade under the arsh of Allah, is two men who loved each other for the sake of Allah. They came together and they parted for Allah's cause. These are two men who loved each other not for worldly benefit, not for business, not to take advantage of each other, but they love each other for the sake of Allah. The person, he's, I love you for your righteousness and for your good qualities and your manners. This is the reason I have this love for you, for these things, not for any worldly benefits or business or anything like this. This is love for the sake of Allah. And the hadith says that they came together and they parted on the cause of Allah. They came together on the cause of Allah and they parted on the cause of Allah. That means that they came together for the sake of Allah and in Allah's cause. They didn't come together, they didn't get together and come together to backbite, and they didn't come together to lie, they didn't come together to excessively go into unnecessary talk, or to come together to plot and to conspire against the Muslims and what have you. No, they came together for the sake of Allah. This is like the brotherhood of who? This is like the brotherhood of Musa and Harun. May Allah have mercy on them. Musa said that when he asked about, that Allah make his brother also with him, that he let his brother come with him. He said, why he asked, he said, so that we may glorify you a lot and remember you a lot. That's why Musa said, I want my brother to be with me. He's asking, I want my brothers, let us come together so that we can glorify you a lot and we can remember you a lot. Or it's also like the brotherhood of Salman Farsi and Abu Darda, for another example. Or we have the example of Abdullah bin Mas'ud. He told one of the Sahaba, let's come together to have Iman, to have faith for a moment. To talk about Iman, to talk about religion, talk about the situation of the Muslim Ummah, of the Muslims. We come together for a moment for this. So they're not getting together for any worldly reason. They're coming together for the sake of Allah. And because of this, Allah will reward them and will provide them with shade on the Day of Judgment. And there are many hadith which talk about the love for the sake of Allah. But this is one of the rewards for it. The person, two men who love each other for the sake of Allah, they come together and they part on the cause of Allah. These people, they will enjoy this reward they will get, is that they will be among those who are under the shade of Allah, under the arsh of Allah, the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment. And again, that day, which is a long day, it's 50,000 years long, it's full of difficulty and hardship, and it's a very difficult day. As we mentioned before, the sun is right above the heads of the people, and the people are sweating according to their deeds. So these people that mentioned in this hadith with these qualities, these are among those people who will be in security and safety under the shade of the arsh of Allah on the Day of Judgment. And with that, dear viewers, we'd like to end for this episode. We hope that you have enjoyed it and hope that you will continue to join us in the future. Until the next time, we bid you all farewell. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.